Welcome to the Maternal Wealth Podcast, a space for all things related to maternal health, pregnancy, and beyond. I'm your host, Stephanie Terrio. I am a labor and delivery nurse and a mother to 3 beautiful boys. Each week, we dive into inspiring stories and expert insights to remind us of the power that you hold in childbirth and motherhood. We're here to explore the joys, the challenges, and the complexities of maternal health. Every mother's journey is unique, and every story deserves to be told. Please note that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your healthcare provider for medical guidance that is tailored to your specific needs. Are you ready? Let's get into it. Today, we welcome Erin Ronder Neves, owner and founder of Beyond Birthing, located in Beverly, Massachusetts. Beyond Birthing is a unique all-in-one prenatal and postpartum wellness center that offers access to full-service prenatal care and support. At Beyond Birthing, you can find childbirth and infant care education, specialty workshops that include pelvic floor therapy, prenatal fitness, functional medicine, and acupuncture. In addition, they provide chiropractic care, massage therapy, birth and postpartum doula services, lactation consultants, and mental health clinicians who specialize in perinatal care. There's also family nutrition services and much, much more. In addition to operating and running Beyond Birthing, Erin is also a birth doula, empowering women and birthing people as they bring their children into the world. Did I mention that Erin is a mother? She has 2 children at home and certainly has her hands full. But that's what we women do. We manage it all. And with the creation of Beyond Birthing, women on the North Shore of Massachusetts can manage it all together. I'm pleased to welcome Erin to the show. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me. Hello, everybody.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to hear more about you and about Beyond Birthing and how it is making a difference for everyone here on the North Shore of Massachusetts.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a dream come true. It's something I've wanted for a long time, and the opportunity presented itself about a year ago, and I jumped with 2 feet.
Before we get into the creation of Beyond Birthing, I would love for our listeners to learn more about you before you got into this journey of maternal health and wellness.
Yes, absolutely. So my background is actually in performance and theater and special education. That is what I went to school for undergrad and graduate school. And then maternal health didn't really come into my view until, of course, I was pregnant. And when I was pregnant with my first daughter, Evelyn, my husband and I were living alone in New York City, and our families were up here in Massachusetts. And when we got to around the 6-month mark, we were like, I don't know if we should do this alone. And so we hired a birth doula who helped us incredibly. And it's so funny because at first my husband's like, what's a birth doula? What does this person do? And literally after Evelyn was born, he was like, should we name her Sylvie, which was our birth doula's name, just to show like how much of an impact she made on our family. And also how much of an impact she also made on him as well. And so we had a birth doula for our first birth. It did not go as planned, as most births don't. As a result of that, I unexpectedly came down with postpartum depression and anxiety. And that hit me around the 4-month mark, which again, even goes to show you, and I'm sure you know this too, that that 6-week checkup means nothing. It's weird that it's even a baseline for anything that, okay, nope, you're totally okay. Or quote, the baby blues only last 2 weeks. Like there's no one size fits all in birth or postpartum or parenting or just being humans at all. So, and my husband had to go back to work a week after my unplanned cesarean because that's what his paternity leave was at that point. And, I had a couple complications from my cesarean, and I was so mad at him for returning to work. And he's like, but I have to in order to pay for the health insurance you need. And it made complete sense, absolutely. But it just goes to show you that that was my first introduction to saying, like, wait, why the hell am I supposed to do this alone? Why am I expected to do this alone? Why is my husband expected to do this alone? Do you know what I mean? Like, and also, I'm not supposed to know what I'm doing. And so I'd already had a therapist because therapy has always been a part of my mental health and I love it. And so I knew that one day when I woke up, and I literally woke up and I looked up and the ceiling was black. I just remember it being black. And I was like, yeah, okay, got to call Catherine. And so I called Catherine and asked for like a acute check-in. And, she immediately knew what to do, and she helped me. What was right for me at that time was to go on medication, and I went on medication. My parents then bought me hours with a postpartum doula, which I didn't know existed, right, until the time. And so I got a postpartum doula. I had my mental health support, and I also had medication on board to help me. And it took about 4 months for me to kind of restabilize. But around that 8-month mark, I started feeling a lot better. And that postpartum doula was crucial in how I was those right after around that 4th, 5th month mark. Also, I learned that postpartum doulas can go with you to medical appointments because I technically couldn't drive still. I technically couldn't lift my baby because of all my postpartum complications with my cesarean. And so she came with me and like held the baby. So while I got an internal, I didn't have to listen to my baby cry in a car seat. And, I knew that Evelyn was being taken care of, right? She helped me with nursing. She set me up with a lactation consultant that helped me understand how to make this sustainable for me and for my baby versus just, making sure I was breastfeeding regardless of what my nipples looked like. And so that postpartum experience really opened my eyes to what if I didn't know where to go for support?
Yeah.
What if I didn't have a husband who also was making sure that I was doing okay and that was financially also making sure that everything was paid for, right? Because I was still on maternity leave. And, what I was doing in New York City is I was a teaching artist and an actor, and I wasn't going anywhere being in the state I was in, let alone commuting all around New York City into New York City public schools and helping them figure out how to put on productions with people who are neurodiverse. And because I was at that moment just not in a place to be doing anything other than taking care of myself and my baby. And so, it really opened up my eyes that we need this support network. We need resources that are comforting, that put the mother first, that the parents matter. Perinatal mood and anxiety disorders are the number one complication of pregnancy. 1 in 5 birthing people will experience it. 1 in 10 partners. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And so my world blew open with how much support a new parent needs when they have their baby. And then we moved up to Boston in between our first and our second babies because we wanted to be closer to parents, especially after what I had with my first postpartum period. I knew that I wanted to be closer so that I could have some more support, et cetera. And then when we moved up to Boston, we ended up having a miscarriage. And again, that's another part of the world that no one talks about. No one talks about that, how, it was not as easy for us to get pregnant the second time. And no one talks about secondary infertility. No one then talks about miscarriage and what this means. And then when I got pregnant, after some time, I got pregnant with my daughter, Rosalie. And at that point, I was like, that's it. We are stacking ourselves with support. Like, I knew what we needed. Like, I got a birth doula right from the start because I knew that I wanted to try for a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean. I also got a postpartum doula before I gave birth because I was like, I know this is what I'm going to need. I had my therapist. My therapist was still in New York, so she was treating me, but I also now needed to transfer my care to a Massachusetts therapist to make sure that I was going to be okay, because I knew that it was a personal choice to not take medication in pregnancy. And looking back, do I think that was the best choice? No. But I knew that as soon as Rosalie came out, I would start my medication again. That's the plan that I had wanted to do. And so I needed to make sure I had a therapist as well as a prescriber who was going to help me with that, because I knew I just didn't want my primary care, my obstetrician or midwife prescribing me that medication because of my history. So I knew I had that. Then I also knew I had a lactation consultant set up ready to go, Because the first time I was nursing with Evelyn, I remember literally being like, this is so painful, and just thinking it was normal. And my birth doula was like, no, 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 no. It's not supposed to be painful. I'm like, why does nobody tell you this shit? And so I just stacked myself with support, which is why I think I had such a better time with Rosalie postpartum. But that's not to say that I was then hit with something called postpartum OCD, which is intrusive thoughts and really scary, scary stuff. And then that hit me maybe I think day like 5 after she was born. And like I said, I already had all my supports in place. So I called my therapist and was like, this is what I'm thinking. Like, 1, does my baby need to be taken away from me for her safety? 2, do I need to be taken away from my family for my safety? And I these are legit questions that I asked, and really scary questions for a new mom, like for a new mom to a new baby, right? Because every baby's different. And I was a new mom at that point to a second baby. Like, they're really scary questions to even think about asking, because like, what if the answer is yes? And how would I be okay with that? But I knew that I had to think about that. And I think that knowing that I had a safe place to go to, that there was no judgment. They knew who I was. They knew where to go, where to help me go so that I could get the support I needed, so that the no judgment is what then made me feel safe enough to say, these are my true thoughts. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to get the support I needed to overcome the OCD. And for me, it just happened to be, again, it looks different for everybody. But for me, it literally had to do with, I upped my medication, and I learned this amazing technique about having kind of feelings and thoughts wash over you and through you versus like pushing them away and pretending they don't exist.
I like that.
Right? It's very much like, and like the visual I have is, imagine like you're taking a shower, right? You're taking a shower and you let the water just pass over you and through you, and there's dirt on you, there's thoughts on you, there's soap on you, but it's washing it away. But it has to go over your body to get through you, to pass over you and then down the drain. Whereas if you're literally in a shower and just taking the water and splashing it back in your face, all you're doing is just putting all the grime back up in your face and not helping and making it bigger, making a bigger problem and making a bigger mess. So that visual to me is what clicked in my mind. And literally, as soon as I started accepting the thoughts and just letting them kind of wash over me, they went away. That's not to say they didn't creep up all the time. I knew how to process them and not get scared of them. Mm-hmm. And again, that's all because of I had a support system. There were some pretty scary times in this entire postpartum journey that, like, I don't know if I'd be here if I didn't know where to go for support. And I just want to be that for people. And that's kind of where the birth of Beyond Birthing, I didn't even mean to say that, but like the birth of Beyond Birthing came from. It's just, if people don't know what kind of help they need, I just want them to know that there's a place to go, and they can walk in that door. Our door says, come as you are. And I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to go with them to help find the answers. And I'm going to hold them, and I'm going to help them and support them and let them know they're not alone. And also, they're not supposed to know how the hell to do this. And it's okay to not be okay. We've got you. And so that's kind of, I know I jumped ahead, let's put Beyond Birthing, but that's why after Rosalie was born, my second, I had a really candid conversation with my husband, Adam, who is literally one of my biggest champions. And the whole reason I was able to even go into doula work was because of my husband and his support, because I first started as a postpartum doula because that just was a natural fit for me. And I've always been very open and vulnerable. And I'm very much an open book with kind of sharing my story, because I truly believe I'm the majority in that I struggled and I don't fit into an Instagram, TikTok box, nor do I ever want to, because I think that was detrimental to my mental health. Not everybody's, again, everyone has their own journey, and I'm so supportive of anyone who finds their journey in the support system that they need. But that wasn't for me personally. And so I started with postpartum, just kind of sharing my story and starting to work with families. And then I became a birth doula. I became a birth doula because my best friend Carrie was amazing. And our first 2 kids, we had like 6 weeks apart from each other, just unexpectedly. That's just how it happened. And she called me and she's like, I'm pregnant with my third. And I go, you can have that one for both of us. And then she invited me to be her birth doula. And that's how I started. So I started it by bringing this amazing child whom I adore into this world with my best friend. And it came very easily to me. The whole process didn't make me queasy. I just felt very comfortable in a hospital setting. My sister is someone who has some chronic disabilities. And so being in a hospital setting and advocating for her has been a part of my life. She's older than me. That wasn't a hard sell on me. I was pretty easy in a hospital and comfortable in a hospital setting. But I think the biggest thing that birth gave me, and I tell my friend Carrie this all the time, and I get teared up thinking about it, because the way that her daughter Gabby's birth went is exactly the way I would have wanted one of my births to go. But I'm very grateful the fact that I had two unplanned cesareans, because those cesareans saved my life and my kid's life. So I am very, very grateful for having a cesarean. But again, when you pregnant, you're like, oh, my hopes, dreams, wishes, right? And the way that Carrie went through her labor with Gabby is exactly how I wanted one of my labors to go. So it was actually an extremely cathartic experience for me that I didn't even know was going to be cathartic. Does that make sense? I was going in there solely it was not about me at all. Like as a doula, it's never about you, nor should it ever be. And once I held Gabby in my arms, I remember being like, holy shit, like that was absolutely beautiful. And I didn't realize the impact it would have on healing my soul of my own birth stories, and how much it opened me up to being that, okay, this is something I need to pursue. And so then I became a birth doula.
I love the story you just shared, because not only our own births are healing, but witnessing other people's birth is also healing.
Absolutely. It absolutely is healing. But the thing that's the most healing, especially now that I've become definitely more, I've now been a birth doula for about 9 years. I've been at over 300 births and all around the greater Boston area. The most healing thing for me, actually, when I go to births now, is seeing the birthing person and the partner feel empowered to ask questions. That's what's the coolest thing for me. So that they then understand actually how much power they have in the room. Because again, we don't know what we don't know, nor should we think that we should know what we don't know. And so many times providers, or even throughout the process, are like, what questions do you have? And people are like, I don't know, because I've never done this before. So like, what questions should I be asking? Right. And so that's why like the classes that we teach here, as well as me as a birth doula, one of my biggest things that I do with my clients is I talk about, what do you need to know to feel good about this choice? What do you need to know so that you feel empowered? Because listen, we can't make a plan of how birth can go. That's the one thing we can guarantee about birth, that it's unpredictable. But we can make preferences, right? We can make preference of like, listen, if we are going down the street and all of a sudden we come to a fork in the road, I want to know my options instead of just saying I need to do one way. And if you know your options and then decide the way that the doctor is suggesting, you just come from a different point of view. You come from a place of empowerment versus just of like acquiescing. And not saying acquiescing in the way that the provider is ever trying to do harm. I actually don't believe that at all. It's more just understanding the whole scope of the situation, or the whole bird's eye view of the situation. Of course, if time allows, if it's an emergency, that's why, thank goodness for being in a hospital and dealing with providers. But at least then can give you a moment of just that entry point is just a little bit different.
We paused this episode for a quick message from our sponsor. At Maternal Wealth, we aim to ensure that you have access to the best and the most appropriate care. That's why we created a maternal healthcare provider database. Maternal health providers can easily create profiles to promote their services and business, helping to increase access for those seeking their care. This is a one-of-a-kind database that offers a new and exciting way for women to search for and find maternal health providers near them and tailored to their specific needs. Profiles feature badges that highlight various services such as TOLAC-friendly practices, all-female practices, LGBTQAI+ inclusivity, language options, access to vaginal breach services, and more. Additionally, be sure to check out our Not Your Average Birth course. In this course, I discuss the variations that exist in hospital practices based on policies, staffing, and budgets, all of which can directly affect your birth experience and outcome. When you walk into Beyond Birthing, what do you see? What are you going to experience?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. What you're going to experience is you're going to experience a living room. You're going to walk into someone's home. It is aesthetically designed, like we actually call our big space, the living room, because it's supposed to be warm. It's supposed to be inviting. It doesn't look like a clinician's office, right? It looks like a living room. We've got a table and chairs and a kitchenette, and we've got couches and we've got chairs and like cushy chairs and pillows that you can like give yourself sensory input on. I've got breastfeeding pillows in every single cushion of the couch. I've got postpartum supplies you may need in every step of the journey. I've got stuff in the bathroom so that the mom can like take 5 seconds and like wipe her armpits and put on deodorant. Do you know what I mean? Brush your teeth, come spray your face, like wash your face, like take a moment for yourself. It's this Beyond Birthing is set up for parents. It is set up for parents because parents are often forgotten. We are always focused on the baby, and the baby's so important. Oh my God, don't get me wrong. The baby is extremely critical. But just like we learn on an airplane, you put your own oxygen mask on first before helping your child, which actually, as a mother, like goes completely against my instinct. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, nope, got to save the kid first. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I can't save the kid if they don't have me. So that's kind of the reframing of it's just reframing the relationship. And so when they come into Beyond Birthing, they're going to be welcomed with a hug, or they're going to be welcomed with women just sitting around and just talking about their experiences in very real ways. And in any state they're in, we have so many amazing providers here too that are oftentimes just walking through the space because they're either going to see clients, or we're just saying hey, or we're connecting or collaborating on somebody, or we're making that connection so that they're getting the best help they need. And it's just a welcome, it's a smile, it's a hey, how are you? And the best thing is what do you need today? That's what they're going to be about. They're going to be about the question of what do you need today? How are you? And it's so funny because whenever I ask that question, everyone's like, well, the baby's good. You know, the baby's gaining. The baby's, she's really doing well. And I'm like, awesome. But I asked, how are you doing? Because no one knows how to answer that question anymore. And so that's been really interesting because I just had a mom in here yesterday and I was like, how are you doing? She goes, well, the baby, we've had some problems with feeding. And I go, it sounds so good that you're on track with that. I'm so glad you're seeing Dr. Courtney and you're working with Kieran. Then you're here with me now. We're going to flange fit you, all of these things. But then I was like, but then what about you, girl? And she was like, it's been hard. And I go, tell me more. Tell me more. And then I actually asked if I could hold the baby because it's so nice to talk about yourself while not holding your baby. And so I'm holding this amazing, cute potato that is like delicious in every way and having a good time and totally chilling while mom is finally given some space to be like, oh, yeah, let me check in on what's going on inside of me. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help hold babies if you need it. We're here to help you take a minute to yourself when you come to our nurture and nourish support groups. Like, they are full on lactation support. We have a lactation specialist every single time that the group happens so that you can come in for lactation support. So it's no more like, oh, wait, I can only go to this lactation group on this day. Oh, and if I miss it that day, I have to wait another week. Nope, not here. You just walk in any day and we're here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10:30 to 12. But then in addition to that, we also have perinatal professionals come in and just introduce the resources that are in this community to help the parents take better care of themselves and also bring peace of mind to them and what they're doing with their child or children, right? And these support groups are for first-time parents, fourth-time parents, like any bit. And I think it's really just taking the space to be like, okay, well, what do I need? Where can I talk about things? And in a safe place. And again, and a lot of it is peer led, which is fantastic because research shows it's one of the best ways we can support each other is through peers, right? We're not here to just only hear one voice in the space. I don't think that that's helpful in any part of anyone's life, even in the perinatal process. Like, if I'm someone's doula, I encourage them to take childbirth ed classes with someone other than me, or they take them with me, but then please also talk to this other person because I don't want my voice to be the only voice they hear. I don't think that again, I don't know everything. and so it's important for people to know the resources out there, and just coming and sitting and being, and realizing that also we have these different perinatal professionals come in, as well as also our providers who are in the space. Like, I had one mom come in a few months ago, and she was having a hard time. She comes in, Kira, one of our lactation consultants, was here. She was helping with the group. She helped her with lactation. Then I was like, why don't I hold the baby and you go talk to Sam Watson, who's our clinical social worker who focuses on perinatal mental health. So she went in there for 10 minutes while I held baby. And then she went over and made an appointment with Dr. Courtney because there's some tension in the baby. But also I was like, okay, great. The baby's getting adjusted, but what about you? She goes, oh, right. And I go, exactly. Your body also matters. So this woman came in feeling pretty desperate, and she left with a community as well as 3 providers on her team and a doula, me, because I'm not hired by people in our community to be their doula, like who come for postpartum. I call myself pretty much like the doula of the space, because that's what I am. I'm a connector, right? So and she's now got a doula, me, in her corner, and her sport team quarterbacking the team, but keeping her in the driver's seat.
When I went to visit you a couple months back, and I was sitting there in the lactation class, and I'm watching everyone, there was moms there, partners are there, and all I could think was, I wish I had this. The community, just being around other people who are going through what you're going through and having that support that you talk about is fundamental. It's that village that everyone says that we need, but that doesn't exist. And that's what you're creating. So it's amazing. I love it.
Thank you so much. And the thing is, like, I couldn't have done this without my village too. And I think, as birth workers and kind of in this field, a lot of us work in silos, and kind of coming together under one roof is what makes it so special. Dr. Courtney Neal, who runs Foundations Family Chiropractic, I approached her 2 years ago, and I was like, hi, how are you? I'm Erin. I really like you. I want to work with you. I want to partner with you to create this center, because this is what I have as a vision, and I want providers to be a part of it, and I want you to be the first provider that is a part of this. And she's like, I'm sorry, who are you again? And I go, right. So let's roll the tape back. And so then, she was looking to move location. So she found this space, and then the space next door would be coming available. So she found this space. She relocated Foundations Family Chiropractic to here, and then was like, well, Erin, hey, this space just opened up. What about doing what you said here? And then that's how this created. So Dr. Courtney and I really worked together to collaborate on the space and to get the space, to finance the space. And, we made it come to life. And I think that the fact that we're all under one roof is what makes it so special. And as I was talking with someone this morning, it's the secret sauce, right? It's the secret sauce that we are all here together. And I think that, there's such value. We all up our own personal value in what we do and what we do as our specialty by collaborating and being a part of just this community. And that's what it is. It's just a community. And I think that so many people have been walking through the door now, like professionals that are just wanted to be associated, that want to be, come in and talk to our new mom, our nurture and nourish, like lactation and postpartum support group. Yes, please. I am here to help raise other people up, because I'm only as strong as the woman next to me, and I'm only here because of the woman's shoulders that I stood upon. And that is what we need to do for each other. We need to do it for each other. And all of our practices are very partner inclusive, which I think is very unique, because, I think what I went through with my husband when we had Evelyn, our first, no one talked about how postpartum really affected the marriage dynamic, or how it felt for the husband to have to go back to work and feel like they're abandoning their kid and their wife, you know what I mean? And then me having such rage at my husband, because I was like, you are abandoning me. And he's like, what is happening? And then us going through this hard time, it's partners matter too. And even as a birth doula, I'm so partner inclusive in what I do. I'm there to absolutely make sure that birthing person stays in the driver's seat, but I'm also there to make sure the partner's okay. Everything that we do here, all of our groups are always including that partner. And we now have we have a Bros, Babies, and Beef Dad Connection group that happens on Saturdays, where we have Nick's roast beef kind of bring in sandwiches because, I got to get them in the door somehow. No, I appreciate it. We've had such a loyal following. They've been so great. And literally two of our, as I call them, my OG moms here, just came up with, we just brainstormed the other day, we're going to have a Bros, Babies, and Beef paternity leave edition on Monday afternoon starting in a couple weeks, because now so many partners are taking paternity leave.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, what do I do? And I'm like, I got you. So that's something else that we're doing. We're really responding to what the community is asking for as well, because I'm new here. I'm not trying to make the community fit into my box. I'm trying to make this fit into the community. So, anytime someone has something on their minds, like I had one mom say, like, I want to talk about pumping and going back to work. I've got no idea. And I was like, done. And we set up something the next week, and now we have a working mom support group also starting with these two OGs who are just like, I just really, I'm going to miss this, but I'm going back to work. So what can we do? And I was go, here we go. Like, we'll set this up, and we're starting like a working mom support group on Fridays, because a lot of people who are going back to work either can work from home on Fridays, so they have a little bit more of a flexible schedule, or they have Fridays off. We're here to really respond to what the community needs. And all of the providers have also been wonderful at collaborating and saying, this is what my client said to me. What do you think of this? And I'm like, oh, amazing. And we've also collaborated on patient care. And I'm just trying to make it easier for parents to take care of their own mental health and physical wellness as well. And a lot of that gives us peace of mind when we're taking care of our baby too. So, I've got my clinicians all around me who are just, I feel like I hit the jackpot. I am honored and beyond privileged to be working alongside them. They provide that amazing clinical support and body work that people and these babies need. And then I'm there for a lot of the emotional support. And then, of course, if it's outside of my scope, Sam is right there to just be like, all right, let's do this. We got this. And we're just constantly figuring out ways to just make it better because, again, but they're my village. And I didn't know I needed them until I opened this place. And I was like, oh my God, it's so nice to see other people every day. And I couldn't do this without them. So I'm hoping to also lead by example. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not supposed to do this alone. We're not supposed to do this alone. We're not supposed to, know how to do all of this. And I think that that's what makes it special. And the women that I work with here, Courtney Neal, Shivani Patel, Kira Kim, Sarah Gregory, Danielle Shaitan, Joanne Sheridan, Sam Watson, Dana Allen, I am flabbergasted that I get to put my name alongside these women.
For someone who's listening to the episode and they are a doula or maternal health enthusiast and they love this idea, what advice would you have for them for starting up a project where they live like beyond birthing?
It's a great question. And I'm currently reviewing that right now with some business advisors. I think the biggest thing is first, set your vision and find like-minded people, find other people. Cause listen, I could not have done this alone, and nor should I have done this alone. Right. And so I found Courtney, I found her and I made her like me. Right. No, we've been working together for a lot of years, but I was just like, I think I'm someone you want to jump in with. And she was like, really? And I go, no, I really am. So find people who support you. Also, when you do something like this, make sure your own personal support team is okay. I made sure I still have my therapist that I talked to. I made sure my partner was on board. I made sure my kids understood what was going on. I think that's get your foundation first and then figure out where to go next. And I am still learning. And there's been so many times where I've put the cart before the horse and I'm continuing learning on this journey because listen, I am a new business owner. We're only 7 months old. So, I always just say we've just started solids, thinking about me in terms of a baby, I'm still learning head control. I've just learned to roll both ways. Crawling is potentially on the precipice, but I'm still just slugging around like a snake, so I'm very happy to talk to anybody too and invite anybody into the space. Find your like-minded people, because I think that's what's keeping me going. Because even though I know that I've got to make some, again, we're all learning here as we go, and there's got to be some changes to the business model, all of these different things. I know I'm surrounded by people that are going to support me no matter what. And that's what's so cool. So find your people first and then go from there.
I can feel it in the air that a movement is happening, right?
Yes.
Women are realizing like the status quo is not working for us anymore.
Yes.
And it's people like you who are stepping up and creating a place, creating that village, creating the community where we can come together and support other women is like the first wave. And it's just going to ripple out. Me personally, from a woman to a woman, from one mother to another mother, I want to thank you for doing what you do, because I know you're helping people and I know you're helping families, and women are still here because of Beyond Birthing.
Oh, well, Stephanie, stop making me cry. But it's an honor. And in all honesty, I don't know where else I'd want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where else I'd want to be. I had no idea about this when I was a kid. Like when I was, growing up, I was like, I'm going to be a veterinarian, or I'm going to be like a deep sea diver at SeaWorld. You know what I mean? Like I had no idea what I wanted to do. I always said I wanted to go into theater, and I had very supportive parents. So that's great. But now that I'm here, it just makes sense to me. It just makes sense to me. I just am so here to let people know that they're not supposed to know what they're doing. And I think that's a big thing, because a lot of people say, well, people have been giving birth for eons and eons, and people have been breastfeeding for eons and eons. And I'm like, just because it's instinctual and natural doesn't mean there's not a learning curve. And people always say, well, why do we need all of these extra things now when back then we didn't? And I go, because back then we had our villages. We were surrounded by our mothers and our grandmothers and our aunts and our cousins and our neighbors and our children and whomever else wanted to be a part, who actually helped take care of everything else in the house and the other children, so that mother could heal in her bed for 40 days with her newborn. There's so much more societal pressures now that are not setting up women, especially new parents or any type of parents, for success. Someone I just met with last week, and I'm so excited we're going to be bringing them into this space. There are these two women who started a law firm, and they did it because of how they were treated during medical events. And they're like, we need people to understand what paternity leave is, and what maternity leave is, what their rights are, what they can ask for, because again, people just don't know the questions that they need to ask. And taking 3 months off might not be enough for everybody. It wasn't enough for me. I couldn't. There's no way I could have gone back at 3 months. If I gone back at 3 months, shit would have hit the fan in a way that it hadn't already. It's just this one size fits all, and knowing what questions you need to ask and how to personalize the experience, because that's what it's all about. And kind of this individualized care is what happens, which is why it was so easy for me to kind of make the switch over to birth doula from special education. Because, special education, if you have a student who is in need of services, they have something called an IEP, which is individualized education plan. Then in that IEP, you have listed the successes of that child, the challenges of that child, who they need on that team to overcome those challenges. And then also you need to work with people who understand how to stay in their scope. And that's literally what a birth doula does. First of all, I listen, what are the individual needs, wants, hopes, desires of this person? Then what are they feeling really empowered and strong about? What do they feel like they need some more support on? Who can I bring in on that team? And then how can I make sure that everyone's staying in their scope, including myself, right? So that we're not getting 5,000 different answers and confusing everybody, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what's really important. And I think it's amazing to share that space, and an honor to share that space.
I'm kind of just taking it all in. It's really remarkable what you're doing and the positive change you're making for women in the communities.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the space to share this. And I welcome anyone who's listening. Call me anytime. I always say to the people who come to my classes, if I don't see you again, which I hope is not the reality, but if I don't see you again and then I hear from you in 6 months, I'm still going to pick up that phone. I'm still going to pick up that phone. But if anyone is interested in getting involved, if anyone is interested in just coming to our groups, let us know. We have financial aid available. We have mass health benefits. We are FSA, HSA eligible. Most of our providers take insurances. We'll always help you to figure it out. Don't let money or finances ever stand in the way of you getting the support you deserve. I love the name of your podcast, Maternal Wealth, right? It's maternal wealth is not just money, right? It's so much more. So we're here to help fill in those gaps. We are easily accessible by the train. We're right by the North Beverly T stop. If you need anything, if you need support, if you're concerned about needing support and you're not pregnant yet, like, reach out. We've got you. We've got you. And again, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to go with you to help you find those answers.
All of Beyond Birthing contact information, website access will be located underneath the podcast episodes. You will be able to reach out to Erin at Beyond Birthing. Thank you so much, Erin, for doing this and taking time to sit down and open up and be vulnerable with us. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me the space. And, our vulnerabilities are superpower, man. It really is. I'm always happy to support people in that, honor people in that, and lead by example in that, because we're not alone. And we need our sisters. We need each other.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to check out our social media. All links are provided in the episode description. We're excited to have you here. Please give us a follow. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, reach out to us via email at info@maternalwealth.com. And remember, stay healthy, embrace your power, and you got this.